Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Ini and in this video I'll be sharing the process of one of my latest paintings. Starting with the supplies, I decided to use my CassArt London watercolors and my leftover paint palette. If you are new here, my leftover palette is where I keep what is left of any paint I did not use for paintings or mixing charts. This way I don't have to keep cleaning my palettes before starting a new painting and I don't waste any paint. For paper, I used an A5 sheet of CassArt cold pressed watercolor paper. This is a cellulose-based paper and although it's not my favorite, I find it really good for practice. So, in this painting, I started by drawing a circle for the moon and using water to wet the inside of the circle. I mainly used two colors throughout the painting, ultramarine blue and my leftover purple. Unfortunately, I'm unable to tell you how to mix this purple, as it is a mix of not only different hues and different brands, but also both pigment and dye-based watercolors. Started by shading the moon and later will follow with adding the crater details. I've painted moons in the past, but they were all an attempt at our real moon. This time I wanted to paint one in a more loose and less realistic style, and without following a reference picture. I try to work on this layer as quickly as possible. I find that the first layer of any watercolor painting is the best for soft gradients using the wet on wet technique. Unfortunately, this does mean that I need to work fast before the paper starts drying. As the paper was drying, I managed to add some crater details using the wet and dry technique and using a spare brush to fade the color into the painting. The next step was to paint the background before going back to touch up the moon with any more details. Since the background is so dark, I needed to paint it so I could see if the moon needed deeper and darker values. For the background, I'm mainly using a custom mix black as base. I have a preference for cool tone blacks with a blue hue, almost like an indigo, but depending on the subject of the painting, I might either go blue, purple, or sometimes a green hue. In this case, I already had a black mix from lemon yellow, alizarin crimson, and ultramarine blue from CassArt. However, the amount of paint was not enough. So I swatched it and tried to remix a similar color, but also incorporating some of the colors from my leftover palette. I often like to do this when I have colors I use less. This way I can bulk up or increase the quantity of the black being mixed and also use up colors I don't necessarily reach for as much. So to the existing black I added green and then its complementary color red. This created a brown mix, which meant I needed to add more bluish tones. The leftover palette didn't have blue, but it did have purple, so I tried adding it to see how the mix would turn out. It was still a little bit red, so I added some of the ultramarine blue from CassArt to create a purpley indigo black. When I was happy with the mix, I transferred it to my leftover palette and started painting around the moon, trying to be as careful as possible with the outline and keeping the whole background wet. When the background was all covered, I went in and added some blue and also used my brush to lift some of the paint around the moon to create depth. When the background was dry, I was happy with the overall painting and decided not to darken the moon or add any more details to it. This video was slightly different from what I've been doing on this channel. I'd love to hear your opinion on it. Did you like it? Would you like more videos like these where I break down my painting process of a particular subject and explain as I go? Would you like to see me paint a particular subject? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.